I extend a very warm and pleasant welcome to the last session of this webinar. It's always a pleasure. It is so inspiring and encouraging to listen to Brother Colin and especially, of course, Brother Mark gave an extensive and in-depth teaching on budgeting and planning. And today we are concentrating on investing and savings. I would like to just shift this word from investing and savings to savings and investing. Because unless you have savings, you will not be able to go for investment. So therefore, savings is an integral part of our complete financial planning. Look at this picture that you see on the screen. The savings is at the stem of the tree, and the family is looking up to the branches for the fruits. And what are they looking at? Interest. So interest means the result of your investment. So that interest is possible unless you have interest in savings. So you should have complete interest in savings first, then you will see the flow of savings coming up. Now, what is the objective of this session? The importance of savings. But before we could understand, we should understand what this term savings mean to us. Savings largely means three important factors that we need to know is what is saving and how is it useful? Number one, why is savings important? Number two, some benefits, important benefits of savings. So these are the important three factors that we need to understand the term savings. Often we think savings means setting aside money. Yes, correct. But what is that it means is very important. Let us look at the first point. What is saving and how is it useful? Let us see the definition of the term savings. It says savings is the portion of income not spent on current expenditure. You follow? I will repeat. Savings is the portion of income not spent on current expenditure. That means there is an expense, but you're setting aside some form of saving for tomorrow's expenditure. And that will take care of you to fall back on any eventualities of unexpected emergencies that would come in the way. Right now, we are walking through this situation for the last 1.25 years. The pandemic that is holding a sway, roller coaster effect. Many of us have lost our jobs. Many of us have been laid down. And many of us, our business has been depleting. We are, for a moment, we are scared. Where is our future heading on to? And we think now savings should have been there to fall back on. Where do we turn to for our livelihood? Where do we go for our children's education? How do I find my EMI payments to be made? So all these factors come into play unless you would have had set aside earlier for something for the future. Number one. Number two, why is savings important? Savings is very much important, just like this financial emergency. You want to buy savings, not only in times of emergency, savings will also help you to invest in a big expenditure that you want to do. For example, now you set aside some money for your savings, and over a period of time, suddenly you want to buy something big. You don't have to run helter-skelter to provide that, mobilize that fund. Your money is there, which gives a booster for you to raise other funds in order to achieve the dream of your desires to get something that you wanted to have. So savings is not only in times of emergency, savings is also to make your life better for the future. And the third one is, what are some of the benefits of savings? As I told you, it helps in emergencies. It will be a cushion for sudden job loss or unusual traumatic conditions at the workplace. Helps to finance vacations. It limits debt to a great extent. It gives a great extent of financial freedom to you. And of course, it helps a very happy, comfortable, retired life. You have to be very careful about these aspects of the savings. Unless you understand the definition of saving, you will have no reasons to savings, my dear friends. Now, having said what savings is, investment is also equally important. It's not only setting aside money, but where you invest that money is all the more important. Setting aside a portion of your income is welcome. It is easy done, maybe. But where do you invest? How safe is the investment? What are the returns that you get? And today, my dear friends, there are plenty of saving options available. In spite of the depleting market rate of interest, there are plenty of options available, which I'll come to you perhaps after the session. If you have any interest, then please call me. I will let you know. But the investment is very, very important. And at the time of investment, you have to be careful not offload all your savings into one basket. It is said beautifully, you should not keep eggs in all the, keep all the eggs in one basket. If the basket falls, all the eggs will break. It's good that we keep eggs in different baskets. Therefore, we will be able to get whenever we want it. Remember, Your investment should be in such a way that I should be able to get money when I want it. The flexibility and the fluidity of our investment should be very, very clear. There should be some long-term investment. There should be some short-term investment. Therefore, I should get money when I want it. I should not depend on other sources for my living. Now, a brief introduction of all these things. How we handle money has a great impact on the intimacy of our relationship with Jesus. How does it matter with money and relationship with Jesus? It's strange point that we are discussing here. Handling money, how can it impact my intimacy with the relationship with Jesus? I would like to take you to the biblical reference of Matthew 19:22. Here we know it's a familiar story that we have heard that that a good man and a rich man came to Jesus and said, "Teacher, what good deed must I do to have eternal life?" Listen to this word, beautiful. Every word has a tremendous meaning and power in that. Teacher, what good deed must I do to have eternal life? That means, what good should I do to have an intimate and personal and an everlasting relationship with you? So it takes us to the point that we have to be a good stewards, a good managers of the resources. So the story goes on here. There's a discussion between Jesus and the rich man here. And the rich man is eagerly want to know, what must I do? What good deed I should do to have eternal intimacy with you? Jesus tells you have to follow my commandments. And he tells, do this, do this, do this. And finally, this rich man tells, I'm doing all these things. But Jesus tells something beautiful. You lack something. You lack something. In spite of all these things, you still lack something. And what is that? You have so much, give it away, all that you have illegally, inappropriately earned, and you're storing or hoarding your income. That's not going to take you where you want to be. Give it back. He was cut off. The Bible tells he was cut up. He went away from Jesus. So it is so intimately related with our resources. We often claim, my dear friends, that whatever I have, it is out of my intelligence, my potential, my education, my knowledge, my exposure, my talents. Fine, good. But all the talents has a definite purpose as Christians and Catholics, let me tell you, Christians. And everything that what you claim to be is the result of God's gift to you. And you have a purpose in life. God has sent you here, not as a waste, not to fill the gap on the earth, nothing of that. God has sent every creation with a definite purpose. And that definite purpose will be unfolded only when you come into the presence of God and ask, Lord, what do you want me to do? God answers you to do that exactly what he wants you to do. And it's so beautiful, my dear friends, that we should understand what we are meant to be. It is said beautifully, the Creator cares for those who care for his creation. The Creator cares for those who care for his creation. God has created me. When I take care of the creation, God will take care of me. What it means to say is, whatever God has given you right now, it is not only meant for you, but is to be reached out. You are the ambassador. You are the Messiah of his resources. All that God has given you is founding you that you are trustworthy, that you are a good manager. Therefore, he has given you these talents. You may be a very good officer, a very good politician, very good singer, very good musician, very good speaker, maybe the best. God must be giving you so many resources. God has given you that talent to mobilize that resource to reach out to his people. In the process, be prudent in the investments and saving that you make for your own family, that you are responsible to take care of your wife and children. So therefore, this is a very integral part of intimacy relationship with Jesus. Therefore, we have to be very careful in dealing with our resources and investment. Luke chapter 16:11. So if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly health, who will trust you with true riches? It's another beautiful story Jesus takes us to make us understand of the today's subject is that here is a big businessman who comes to know that his manager is squandering the resources of his company for his investment, misusing all the resources, misappropriating all the resources. He gets a report, he fires him, calls him and fires him. And the story goes on to say, this man, very scared about his future, he calls all the businessmen and alters the bills to the detriment of his manager, the boss, and he thinks that these people will come to rescue and goes on. So therefore, the word that the Lord is telling here is, if you're not faithful in small things, how can I entrust you in bigger things? Often when God entrusts us with small responsibilities, we think, after all, a small thing, who takes care of it? What importance does it carry? Where do I have to account for? Come on, little bit. Unless you are faithful in small things, you will not be entrusted with bigger things. It has happened in my personal life, my personal experience. Whenever I was in the service of the corporation, as Colin put it, that I was in 30 years service, but I was a small correction. I was for 41 years in LIC, different capacities, and retired as a development officer. Whenever people came belonging to different organizations, where I have no credit, I have no purpose, but I would faithfully answer them. It was a small thing, insignificant. I could always tell, go back to your officer. He will answer. Why should you come to me? But answering him, giving a small time for him made a big, big difference. Make a big, big difference. This will help me. This will help me, my dear friends, to show the face of my God who made me what I want to be. When somebody takes a small help from us, when we reach out, when we are faithful to small things, and the people are benefited because of us, they would suddenly think, what makes this man different from others? And that's the time I show the face of my God who has made me to be what I am. And that is a part of our evangelization as well. And every time you reach out, you will see, you will be the testimony for God. You don't have to speak the word of God. You don't have to preach Bible. Just reach out to be kind, reach out to be helpful, reach out to be faithful, reach out to be friendly. I'll tell you, you are indirectly showing the face of God. And that is evangelization. And coming back here to the story here is that unless we are faithful to small things, it will be difficult for us to be bigger things. It is simple. Forget about Jesus telling us. So many times we have tried entrusting something to someone, and if they don't handle it well, we don't definitely would like to give a bigger responsibility. We would like to say, no, don't give to this man, give to the other man. We have done it in our own church. Now, how much more the Lord would be trusting in us when he gives small things. And often tests come in a small way for a bigger responsibility. Stewardship brings blessings. Stewardship here means managing. We are only the managers. We are not the owners, my dear friends. Try to understand that the last, since yesterday, brother has been speaking on so many subjects on stewardship. What managing means is anything and everything that you have. You may be having a good singing capacity. You may be able to write a good letter. You may be able to speak well. You may be able to do anything and everything that you think you have done. You are only a manager of that. So you cannot own that. The moment you own something, the trouble starts. Anything for that matter. For example, let us take our children. We have a problem with our children, teenagers in these days. The big challenge for parents to manage children. You have a problem with the children, then you have to go back to the source who gave you. The moment you own your child and say, no, this is my child, this should not happen, this should not happen, that should not happen, this should not happen. For example, your child is sick, God forbid. Your child is sick. What do? Definitely, as the stewards, good managers, we go to the best of hospitals, do everything for the children. But the moment you own it, your trouble starts, my dear friends. Ask God who was the source for these children to you. Children does not belong to you. Let me tell you one thing. It's a very tough understanding, difficult understanding. Children are not your children. You may be the ends and means for children, but then the life came from God. The life belongs to God. So whenever you have problem with the children, whenever you have challenges, go back to the source and say, Lord, you blessed me with this beautiful child, this lovely child. The child is going through these difficulties. I am going through difficulties with this child. Lord, you guide my child. You bless my child. Management is nothing but owning. Management is managing. You're managers. That's all. The tragedy is that we try to manage, we try to own, and the problem starts with owning. For example, simple example, I have a mobile here. I have another friend sitting opposite to me. I take his mobile and keep it. The problem starts. It doesn't belong to me. It is somebody's. So therefore, it's managing resources is a blessing. We get blessings. What do these blessings come from? Blessings comes in so many ways. See, whenever, for example, often when we do something good, often when we manage something well, we expect a equal resource of blessing. For example, let us take a simple way. I've been interested to manage about 5 lakhs rupees in my job. Okay, manage that. So what do? I try to be faithful, honest, sincere, even to the last penny. I'm only a manager. There are rooms for me to manipulate. There is option for me to manipulate. There is wrong presentation of accounts. But I'm very faithful. Very faithful. Now, what sort of blessings I get? I often think because I saved 1 lakh rupees to the company, I will get 1 lakh rupees. By God will bless me 1 lakh. No, God doesn't work that way. His arithmetics are different. I saved a company for 1 lakh rupees. I will get a 1 lakh rupees from God. Somehow God will bless me 1 lakh rupees. A raise in the salary, a promotion, a new opening, a new gift. No. God doesn't work that way. Often we relate our blessings, our nature of responsibility directly to the blessings in terms of money. God doesn't work. His arithmetics are different. His blessings are something what money cannot buy for you. For example, you have saved a company of 1 lakh rupees, you expect a return of 1 lakh rupees. No, God doesn't work that way. He works in a different way, telling that He would bless your children in such a way that money cannot buy that. Your family will be blessed in such a way that money cannot restore. Your blessings come in such a way that money cannot buy. That is the beauty of managing God's resources. And that's what it tells. Stewardship brings blessings. And blessings in the form that you will never be able to equate with money. Another factor, money is primary competent with Christ for the lordship of our lives. We know that, we cannot please two people all the time. You cannot serve two masters. You will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot be, impossible. You cannot serve two masters, impossible. You will be in trouble. You will be in trouble. So therefore, be with the Lord. He will give you the wisdom, give the gift of the Holy Spirit to discern His plans for you, and He will guide you through the path. You cannot have money and say, Lord, I will come to you. It's not possible. That's exactly happened to the rich man. He wanted an eternal relationship with God and still have the riches of the world. Not possible. Either this or that. Very clear. The arithmetic with God is very clear. You cannot go wrong. So therefore, choose the source that God has given you. Be with Him and He will guide you path. You will never find wanting, my friend. It's my experience. My experience. I have never found wanting in my life. God has been very faithful. May not be able to get what I want immediately, but He gives in a different way where I cannot comprehend His love for me. It's my personal testimony. I've stood at a place today. I am not wanting anything today. I don't need anything. I don't want anything. Even if I want, God miraculously sends my way things that I want. Debt. No, debt means money or possession which one owes to another. Owing, responsibility, giving to others. Debt is discouraged. Romans 38 tells, owe nothing to anyone except for your obligation to love one another. The only debt you have from womb to the tomb is only love. And the only debt that we can have for others, but nothing else. Nothing else should be the debt. We should not be obligated to anybody. We should not mortgage ourselves to anybody. Debt is considered to be a slavery. So true. You borrow money that is not required. I'll come to other areas as far as loans are concerned. Is it not a debt or whatever it is? I'll discuss that later in perhaps next few slides. Debt is considered. Debt is something where I borrow something I don't need. Just to work for the fancy of the world, just to please the fancy of the world, I borrow money. And borrowing that gives a temporary relief, but I become an eternal slavery to the debt. Debt curse for obedience. Deuteronomy 28:15, I would exhort you to read this. Very disturbing. What is the curse for disobedience and getting into a willful debt? And at the same way, God comes back with telling where you can be freedom from debt of obedience. If you are obedient, in the same Deuteronomy chapter 28 tells what are the blessings that you get if you are obedient and be away from the debt. Debt presumes on the future. Repay what is borrowed. That's very, very important. Borrow what you can repay. I would like to put it that way. Not repay what is borrowed. Of course, you have to repay what is borrowed, but borrow what you can pay. Often we stretch our limitations. People are prepared to give us money, offer loans, offer financial stuff, but then you have to be very shrewd and very careful that you should be able to stretch only to the limit that's possible. Borrow only to the extent you can repay. There will be peace, there will be planning, there will be purpose in borrowing that money. When can you take a loan? Financial expert says it's beautiful. When can you take a loan? Now, loan, every phone rings, they offer a loan. Many of them don't even need new papers, documents for you to prove. All that they need a PAN number or Aadhaar, that's enough. They're prepared to come to your doorstep and pay loan, offer loan. At least I get 2 or 3 calls every day, a scam call. Fortunately for that software, I'm able to identify a scam and drop the call. But otherwise, financial money, that's simply dumping upon you. And they know how to fleece you thereafter. They know how to, what can I say? Make your life miserable. Now, when do you want to buy a loan? When should you buy a loan? Buying a loan is required only when you want to buy a house. When you want to buy a house, there are 3 or 4 important points when you should buy a loan. Important aspects of that. Important purpose that you need to go for a loan is when you want to buy a house. Again, buying a house here, brothers and sisters, there are plenty of companies coming out with a competent rate of interest today. And buying a house and the loan that you take is only a temporary arrangement. The loan should never be a long-term arrangement. It should be a short-term. For example, let me see, for example, I see a house worth 1 crore and I have 25 lakhs with me. I will never be able to buy in my lifetime, pull the entire 1 crore money and then buy. By the time the house will be 2 crores. So it will be literally chasing where I will be never having a house. Therefore, this loan is admissible and accepted when you have sufficient capital by virtue of your savings. As I told you in my earlier presentation, that savings is part of buying something big later. And this money that you have pulled over a period of time, mobilize this money, will form as a basis for you to go for a loan. So you have 25 lakhs saved over a period of time, and you have seen a beautiful house, a good house. Definitely you need a house, and you go for a loan, borrow 75 lakhs. Now this 75 lakhs EMI, often if you have tried, if you have not tried, you try, probably you would have done it. But I would want to point out here is, whenever you see the EMI, equated monthly installment, that equated monthly installment, if you multiply the equated monthly installment is a component of principal and interest. Equitably distributed interest. Okay. Now, equated monthly installment into number of months, into number of years. If you see, they multiply the number of EMIs, the loan liability will be phenomenal. You have taken 75 lakhs, you may have to land up paying 1.5 to 2 crores just to clear up this loan, because that interest will eat away all your plans and dreams that you have. So therefore, loan, when you go for it, the loan is purely a temporary element. Your first agenda after getting this loan is to repay the loan. Never go till the last term. They have given 15 years, 20 years to simplify your EMI so that you'll have no pressure to pay the EMI. But then there is a hook, there's a trap, a huge amount that you need to land up paying if you take the entire EMI quota. Your loan should be for 5 years or 10 years maximum. Pay the EMI at the same time, save a little more to repay the loan at the time. Many of the financial institutions do accept bulk amount of refund after first year, but some of them don't even accept bulk refund. And that is the undertaking you would have signed also in a final print, which you would not have noticed. And be careful about it. Business capital. I'm running a business. I need a capital to build that business. I know the fortunes. I know the prospects of this business. Therefore, you are permitted to go loan. You can raise a loan. But then again, be careful to repay the loan. That's very important. Third, fixed assets. Again, for fixed assets, you can take a loan because fixed assets sometimes increases the value of it faster than the market rate of interest. The principle, Joseph principle, the Bible has visualized much before you and I could attend this webinar today. What is the principle of St. Joseph? The Joseph principle tells us. If you have gone through the story, it is very interesting, but I would like to quickly read this for the benefit of our viewers here. During the 7 plenteous years of the brought forth abundantly, abundantly, and he gathered all the food of the 7 years when there was plenty in the land of Egypt, and stored up food in the cities. He stored up in every city the food from the fields around it. And Joseph stored up grain in abundance, like the sand of the sea. Please underline this. He started collecting like the sand of the sea until he ceased to measure it, for it could not be measured. when things were going around well, when the land of Egypt was full of prosperity, and everybody think that this would be there for eternity, for all the years to come. And if there was Joseph who visualized that the day will come when we need to be careful. He starts collecting, storing food for them, like the sand of the sea, where it cannot be measured. To that extent, he started storing. And that's exactly what happens, my dear friend, before I go to the next screen here. Many times we think our life will continue the way it goes on. Take, for example, the situation that we are going through. Till the last 1 year, March 2020, we thought life is like this. I will be on a conveyor belt. I'll be going like this forever and ever. I don't have to worry. Life is beautiful. Come on, celebrate, jump, dance, drink, do everything. We are on our own course. Suddenly, nature brought a stop, which we are still wriggling to come out of this situation. And we are still afraid whether a good day will come ahead with the second wave again taking toll on our lives. So people who had saved in those days were able to tide over the situation for 15 months. We see the difficulty in every family today. This small, insignificant, microscopic virus has held sway every human being. Nobody can say it is not affected. Every human being has been affected by this. Those of us who are very careful in saving something, by default, at least I can say this term, by default, was useful to us now. Unfortunately, the second wave has come. We only pray that God will intervene and set right things for us. But then, unless we would have saved them, we would not have. But there's so many families really have tremendous pressure now. Financial constraints, fees for the children, EMI for the housing. So many of us are gone for a two-wheeler, four-wheeler vehicles. EMIs are struck. Money is coming from nowhere. There's a cut in the salary. We don't know which direction to go. And the statistics from LIC the other day when I was just checking, 80% of the people have taken loan. 80% of the policyholders have taken loan from the policies. Another 20% have surrendered the policies. Whatever policy they are taken by pressure or whatever it is, because of an agent or anybody, that money came in handy for them. They were able to raise a loan. The rate of interest in the LIC loan is only 9% payable at convenience. And we're coming back to the St. Joseph's principle is that the 7 years of plenty that prevailed, the land of Egypt came to an end. And for the next 7 years of famine began to come, as he had said, there was famine in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt, there was bread. And this is the effect of savings, my dear friends. If we have not already have the habit of saving, please set aside. The wise man said for the future, save for the future, but the foolish spends whatever he gets. Proverbs 30:24-25. See something beautiful in this screen, my dear friends. All the four things that is quoted there is ants, conies, locusts, and lizards. They're all insignificant, small creatures on earth, and they are small. Yet, they are the extremely wise ants. Wise ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. These small, insignificant creatures are teaching us a lesson that we need to set aside something for tomorrow. One more important factor I would like to add here is, my dear friends, the saving is not just for the heck of we need to save. We need to save for a very decent, dignified retired life. You know what is happening today? The statistics tell the average mortality rate of our Indian people has gone up to 75 years now. Average. Anywhere you turn around, you see old people are there. The average mortality rate has gone up to 75 years. That means people are living long. When people live long, problems live long. Problems of uncertainty, problems of dependence, problems of loneliness. And another statistics reveals something beautiful I should tell you, that is, any elderly man whose pocket is full hardly visits the hospital. Hardly visits the hospital. 60% of the elderly people beyond 60 years are sick. If you talk to them confidently, take them into confidence, you will see their pockets are empty. Because their pockets are empty, they feel very lonely, lost, dependent, and lose their decency and dignity in reaching out, asking for help. And that's how they become mentally sick, which reflects on the physical nature. So when your pocket is full, you feel terribly strong, not dependent. You feel very happy, self-dependent, and you can do anything that you want. You will be the lord of yourself because you have money in your pocket, and that has come because of your savings. Savings is an integral part of our daily living now. Without saving, it will be very difficult for our future. I'll come to further screens. I'll tell you why and how much we should save. Make savings a habit. Make savings a habit. How do you want to make it a habit? Habit, you see, now, for example, our petrol went up. The last 1.5 to 2 months, we saw the fuel prices shooting up like nobody's business, up to 100 rupees. Have we stopped driving our vehicle? Have we stopped locking up our vehicle? We rather go an extra mile to make up that 100 rupees. Our school fees goes up, my dear friends. Have we asked our children, and we have pulled out our children from the school? We accepted that. The milk price goes up by 5 rupees or 10 rupees. Have we stopped drinking milk? No. Yet we reconcile with all these challenges just like that and move on. But when it comes to savings, we say, no, we have no money to save now. Let us see next month. Many of my clients, when I talk to them, they say they're comfortable, earning well, but when I suggest them to save a particular amount of 10 or 15,000 per month, no, brother, no, sir, we have no money to save. Okay, then my next question is, where do you stay in this place? Is it your own house? Yes, my own house. Then what is the rent you would have probably paid if you had stayed there for a rent? It's about 25,000, sir. Now, what happened to the 25,000 if you're siding in your own house? Don't know. Lost 25,000. If they're staying in their house on a rental, they should have saved 25,000. But now they're staying in their own house. What happened to 25,000? Gone. So unless you make it a habit, the days ahead will be very challenging. Nobody will come to our rescue to make our life meaningful. Okay, the next one is write 2 checks. Quickly, I'll move. There's time constraint. Write 2 checks. One is for tithes and one is for savings. Just as much I emphasize on savings, tithes is a very, very integral part of it, my dear friends. I myself have experience from this. In the early days of my career, I was very, very reluctant to pay tithes because I always questioned what the priests would do with the money. What will they do with the money? They enjoy life. They do everything. Why should I pay for that? After encountering the Lord, after knowing what my Lord is, getting the relationship with God, I know what the Bible was telling. I started blindly giving tithes left, right, center. You will not believe, my dear friend, the returns are there for me. May not be the same way that I gave the tithes, but in a way that He has blessed my children, my home, my career, our health. In all the challenging moments, God protect your hands are there. Where money could not buy, God has given abundant blessings for us. Okay, Matthew chapter 14. Quickly, I'll tell you, this boy, the huge crowd, gave 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. It was not meant to be there. He was passing by. He gave. But what did God give back? He gave 12 baskets full. So whatever you do, He will never give it the exact measure. Sometimes I say, our Lord is a very, very poor mathematician. Last time Simon asked him how many times I should forgive? 70 times 7. In a colloquial, just calculating that, it comes to 490. What does it mean? By the time you reach 490, you lose the count. He's a very poor arithmetician, out of love, not out of his ignorance. His abundant love for us and his faithfulness for us, that he doesn't, his arithmetic is very poor. Anyway, you have to write 2 checks immediately, tithes and savings. Live with 80% of your income. 10% goes to the tithes, savings 10%. 20% should be the salary. Many of us now, we have witnessed a huge cut in our wages. What are we doing? Have we not accepted it? Had we did this a few years back, today you have been very comfortable if you had saved this. So therefore, 20% is a mandatory set aside fund that you need to set aside for a secure future. Long-term savings are intended to fund long-term needs, retirement, short-term savings, readily accessible, house, repair, illness, loss. There are 2 ways of investment, my dear friends. One is long-term and one is short-term. The long-term is for your retirement, children's education, and medical necessities. All these things should be for a long term. Short-term is house repairs, illness, and loss of job, etc. Plotting brings prosperity. Haste is speculation. Plotting means to work relentlessly, work laboriously, And working relentlessly brings prosperity, that we know that, and we have to continue to work that. Be a steady partner, be a consistent worker. When God has given you health, your business is to work hard. Fundamental principle is spend less than what you earn. Very, very important. Spend less than what you earn. Dishonest money dwindles away, but he who gathers money little by little makes it grow. Dishonest money definitely will not stand by that. I would request you to read Ecclesiastes 5, 13, 16 for a short of time. I'm skipping this, so kindly excuse me. First, develop your business or occasion, then build your house. Develop your business or occasion, not vacation. Very often we mistake vacation for occasion and burn our money. Business or occasion, it's for these two things, then build your house. And business, occasion, step 2, purchase a house. Step 3, other investments. These are the principles of investment. What is the difference between saving and hoarding? Saving is to keep what is required. Hoarding is to hold more than what we require. Hoarding is more than what we require. We don't need that. We don't need it. For example, right now, what's happening in remdesivir, one of the important drugs that is required to treat the COVID patients. Today, hoarding everywhere. When I called a couple of pharmaceuticals, they are charged exorbitantly. Exorbitantly. That's not the price. Yesterday, I asked one medicine, Armatech, that cost 42,000, a life-saving drug for COVID patients. 42,000 one injection. Even that's not available. Saving is something what we need. Hoarding is something to have more than what we need. So be careful. Hoarding is not acceptable. It is scripturally permissible to save, invest, and invest only when we are also giving. Save, invest only when we are also giving. Yesterday, Brother Mark spoke beautifully in an order. He said, give, save, and spend. It has to be in that order. Unless you give, you will not be able to save. Unless you save, you will not be able to spend. So it is in that order we need to always manage our finances. Biblical principles that should influence our spending. Learn to be content. Avoid being greedy. Don't compare with others. Live a simple life. Don't compare with others. That's the biggest tragedy that we are facing, my dear friends. I always want to be like another person. I'm not satisfied with what I am. I look at somebody, I want to be like them. The tragedy of being like somebody else is leading us nowhere. Today, due respect to our lady friends there, the beauty parlor is doing roaring business. You know why? Most of them visit because they are not happy with what they are looking like. They want to be like somebody. And what happens when they get into the parlor? They make them sit like the dental chair, put a 2 pieces of cucumber into their eyes. It's so cool and comfortable. The idea is to close their eyes, not to show them what they're going to do on your face. Maybe a joke, but I'm telling you, the tragedy is that you want to be like somebody else. You know, Matthew, I think Matthew 14, if I'm right. Simon Peter was in the boat and he sees Jesus walking on the shore, on the sea. And of course, disciples were really disturbed and said, the ghost coming, and Jesus says, no, I'm not that. And Simon Peter said, if you are Jesus, can I walk on the water? He said, come. And you know what happens there? When he walks on the water, steps on the water, takes a few steps, till such time his focus was on Jesus. The moment he turned his focus away from Jesus, was looking at the storms and the wind, he lost focus, started sinking. That's exactly what happens in our life. If you're not focused for what you are, you want to be somebody else, you lose your direction, my dear friends. Be happy with what you are. Be content what you are. This is how God wanted you to be. This is what God wanted to you to be. Because Jeremiah 29:11 tells beautifully, I know the plans I have for you, plans for your welfare and not for your evil. So therefore, God has given us something. Don't get away from what you want to be. The problem with us is we want to be a history reader of somebody, then who will read our history? God doesn't create a waste. He creates us with a purpose. And you are a masterpiece, a master's piece. That being the case, why do you want to be like somebody else? Why not to be what you are? Why not the world follow your footsteps? Why not the world look at you as a model instead of you looking at and losing your direction? So therefore, be careful. Don't compare yourself with others. God has something beautiful for you. Discern that beauty that God has given in you and see God's grace coming upon you abundantly. Live a simple life. Don't get influenced by advertising. That's what our life is getting up to now. Is credit card good or bad? It's a $1 million question. And if we go into it, we need another 2-3 sessions. Credit card, good or bad? I can't ask you also now, but it's both good and bad. It all depends upon how you use it. It's like using a knife. Hold it in your hand. You want to use it for the right purpose, you will get the right result. Use it for a bad purpose, you get the bad result. Be careful with that. It's a real gift, but then be careful with handling it. 3 acceptable goals for investing quickly. Providing for the family. If anyone does not have for his own, and especially for of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than unbeliever. If you are not able to provide for a family for which you are responsible, and you are the head of the family, then you are in trouble. Becoming financially free to serve the Lord. One objective of saving is to diminish our independence upon the salary to meet our demands. So one reason why you need to be financially free is once you are removed free from all the clutches of the demands of the family, demands of your life, then you'll be so free that you can return back to God what God had given to you through your service. Reach out to the poor, reach out to the church, reach out to everyone who needs your service for no cost, no consequence, because you are free from all the financial burden because you are planned for it. People are in a position to be full-time volunteers without the need to earn salary. Operate your business carefully. The desire to become rich, but those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a snare and many foolish and harmful desires which plunge men into ruin and direction. Matthew 6:25, unacceptable investment. Unacceptable investments. Jesus overcame a temptation to become rich. He was not lured by that. Cut off, have a cut-off limit. Save till you reach the target. Give away everything for the work of the Lord once you achieve your target. Give away everything for the work of the Lord once you reach a target, as I told you earlier. Once you reach the target of your saving, your limitations, you've got a house, you've got a car, you've got a sufficient balance, you've got everything. Now you don't have to earn anything. Give it back to God. And you say, not what you have, at least your time and talent. Reach out. The church needs you. People out there need you. Reach out to them. In conclusion, my dear friends, the wise man saves for the future, but the foolish man spends whatever he gets. Example, and the steady toddler. Avoid risky investments. Be careful. Diversify. Saving investmenting is permanent only when we are also giving to the Lord and to his work. Scriptures of financial breakthrough. And this is something I think Brother Colin will take us from here.
Kantharaj.
Yeah.
Kantharaj.
Yeah.
We will stop here. This I will take them through.
Yes. That's what I want you to take them through. So, my dear friends, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your patience hearing. This is a beautiful subject. And I have to give full credit to Brother Colin for designing this beautiful program. It's such a blessing for our community, our people of faith, that we need to know God's designs, God's plan for financial planning. I also want to take opportunity to thank Brother Colin to have found me worthy to take this subject. Thank you. If you have any questions asking regarding investment and saving, feel free to call me during this webinar. Ask me during question hour. Beyond that, if you still feel that you have something to discuss, I am always available. The telephone number is in the WhatsApp group that brother has formed. Until we meet again, I wish you God's blessing upon each one of you and your family. Thank you.
Dear brothers and sisters,